The following is a fan-based review and is owned by Toei Inc. and Bandai. We claim no ownership to the material we are discussing and is based on pure opinion.
Marcus, can we hurry this up? I want to go home.
Ninja parents!
Ah!
Nailed it.
What the fuck, man?
Hi, everybody.
How did you do that?
And welcome to the Tokucast episode 18, Ninja Powers.
What is happening here? Where's Jacob?
I'm wearing this shirt. I don't know. I thought he came with you.
No. I think you said you had work or something.
Well, as you can see, it's just the two of us here this time. But welcome to the Tokucast episode 18.
You might need a doctor.
Well, you'll be fine. Ninja Powers. Episode 18. Ninja Sentai. Kakuranger.
Ninja.
I'm excited to do this one. However, just rewatching this show, it's not nearly as good as it was the first time around.
Which is what I said the first time around.
I liked it the first time. It was a lot better.
It was alright.
I think I was just looking at it through rose-colored glasses.
Probably. Ow. Can you not do that again?
No promises.
Help me.
So, to start off with, even though we talked about both of these before, the opening and the ending.
They're very good.
I love them both.
Despite what I think about this show, they are very good.
I love the show. They're just so much fun.
They kind of match the tone of the show, which is kind of goofy and anticky.
I love the way that it's like the first part of the actual like intro tells the story of how this guy and this girl are, like sitting on a bench and then suddenly a ninja appears between them. I was thinking like, wow, you got blocked by a ninja. Ninja block! And the ending is just the greatest.
Yeah.
I have the ending as an MP3 and I listen to it every once in a while because the full song, like they don't end up getting like that full epicness in the actual version of the song that we end up getting in the show, but it's pretty on point.
Is it?
Yes. It's Dodo.
It's Dodo?
Yes. Okay, now to start off with, this show starts off really differently than basically anything else because we get an actual narrator.
We get an actual narrator. Well, it kind of matches.
Yeah.
The kind of the theme they're going for. We get an actual narrator, but what happens in the beginning kind of just pisses me off for the rest of the show because now I can't take two particular members seriously.
And there's a reason for that.
Because it's all their fault. And
they don't really do anything throughout the rest of the show. But that narrator is a rakugo. It's a type of Japanese theater.
Yeah.
And after watching the anime earlier...
Didn't you and the guys back in college love an anime about one of those?
Yeah. It was
Five Girls or something? What was that show called?
I can't remember the name of that show, but I know which one you're talking about. It was hilarious. But there was another rakugo anime earlier on this year, which was amazing, by the way. That really... Rewatching the show now with him gave me a lot more appreciation for his style, because I didn't really like him the first time. But after watching that anime, it's like I get him and I get where he's coming from, and that just makes his character just that much better, and I loved everything about it.
Now, what I was referring to is the fact that two of these Sentai are the reason monsters are invading.
Yes. Sasuke and Sekai, who... I have a lot of more problems, and I'll explain that problems that I have in episode 1 when we get to episode 53. Not to mention, this is the third longest Sentai at this point.
How many episodes was it?
53. It went over a year.
Oh, God.
Because it was...
Felt like 70.
It really did a little bit. There's a lot of filler in this show. And... Oh, sorry. It wasn't Sekai. It was Saizo. But this show follows the way that Jetman did, and where we get like a staggered release of the heroes as we go along.
Yeah, that is very true, and I did not mind that. There was a lot of things I did like about this show.
We end up getting Serena, who's our first female leader.
That's one of the things I was referring to.
I love that about this show.
Well, it's kind of a dual leadership if you think about it. She's the leader when they're not in battle.
Yes.
She's like the strategist.
Yeah.
But as soon as the fight starts, Red kind of takes control.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Which is fine, and I have some issues with other things around that when we get more towards the character reviews at the very end. But in episode 1, we get to see these three. In episode 4, we get to... episode 2, we end up getting Sekai. And episode 3, it's episode 1, 2, and 3. So it's like the first 3 episodes are just them. In episode 3, we end up getting our first American-born Tokusatsu actor in this case.
With Jiraiya.
With Jiraiya, the
Ninja
American
Black.
Ninja.
Ninja Black.
Yes, he says it very, very...
Englishy.
Very Englishly. But yeah, the first couple episodes are pretty great.
Let's talk about the suits.
I love these suits.
I don't mind them.
I love the fact that they're very just, they just one color. They have their symbol across the chest. It's very ninja-esque.
It is very ninja-esque. I'll give you that.
I think that's something that the other two don't have.
Is that my complaint is really I don't like the helmets as much. I think there's too much plainness in the helmets. With the helmet, you can kind of go a little...
Yeah.
You can go a little nuts. Another thing are the wrist and ankle cuffs. I have a problem with.
Yeah, I'd much rather they didn't have those.
I would much rather that they... Because with Jiraiya, it matches. It looks the best because it's his color.
Yeah.
But everybody else is black too, and that makes no sense.
Yeah. It should have at least either been their color, or I can understand why they really didn't do it on Serena, or at least they should have reversed it.
That's what I was just thinking.
Where it's black on the outside of the cuffs and in the middle it's white. But it's just like...
Or just get rid of them all together.
Yeah, either, you had to do sort of one or the other, and I don't understand.
I think it would have helped if if Jiraiya was maybe green instead of black.
I don't think that would have really worked for the show. Because, when you think ninja, you still have to have a black one.
But the thing is,
Or in the other case of the other two, you don't get either one of those, and that's a problem in itself. But we'll get there. But the thing is, with it's still a Sentai.
Yeah. I feel like black maybe they could have gotten more black in the power-up form to increase their stealth. That's why they say black. But that's me just spitballing.
I'm personally, we've said this on our top 10 Sentai suits list. It's my honorable mention, and it is my number one. I like the helmets. I understand that they are a little bit plain, but I like the way the visors are different. And on the actual headband, they have their symbol. Shirt reference. But yeah, I really like the way they end up looking. So that's the first 3 episodes. And then an episode after that, we finally end up getting their mechs. Now, this is the first one in the span of the next 3 years where everybody gets their own individual mech.
Yeah.
And I would really like that.
I am glad that we're getting into that. I don't mind the first mech that much the more I saw it again. Especially with the individual ones that kind of get the sleeker form.
Yeah.
Those I do like.
The battle versions of them in episode 12. Speaking of which, this is the first one we get an on-fire sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ghost Ranger will bring that back up. And
Didn't we get it in Die Ranger?
No. They just put it up and it lightning struck it.
I could have sworn, maybe it was Power Rangers then. I kind of sworn that we got an on-fire sword in the original Power Rangers.
Yeah, it took them a while to actually get an on-fire one, but I love the way
maybe it was CGI fire, who knows?
Probably. But it looked great. I love the look of everything basically in this show. Now, as I said, we've met our Rangers, and we're not really going to focus on the plot so much this one because this show has a lot of filler. I mean, up to the very end.
We're not focusing on the plot because there barely is one.
Yeah, and the plot has a definite issue. When we get to the themes of this show, we'll talk about that more. But as we said, in episode 12, they end up getting the battle versions, which is like a slimmed-down version of
which they will bring back in Hurricane Angel, which is cool.
Yeah, they will. I like the way they did it a little bit more in Hurricane Angel because
it was the whole Zord,
and it just slimmed down. But in this one, it was a completely separate list of things. This show has a lot of toys. A lot of toys. It has 15...
When Red Ranger technically has 3 individual Zords, it's kind of...
3?
In terms of toys.
Oh, yeah.
Because you'll get the first one, the slim one, and then the 8th one later.
Yeah, and everybody gets one of those. Legitimately, everybody gets one of those. So it's everybody gets 3. So that ends up being a total of 15 plus the bird.
Plus the bird, and then you gotta put most of them together.
Yeah. In episode 14...
I like the second mech more than the first one, honestly.
I agree. Yeah. It's a little less blocky. But in episode 14, we end up getting...
For this one, it's housey.
It is a house. Episode 14, we end up getting to meet Junior. Who's a very complex character. Because he's he's really bipolar. He has the one side where he's
X8 before X8.
Basically. But he has that one end where he's always going out and playing his guitar and party rocking all day and everything. And the other side,
because we're not making a video on it, still liking X8 so far.
Yeah, we got a little bit, but we are still liking it. And then the other half, he has that really strong and calculated one, which is scary in its own right. Now, we will say this. Throughout the show, up until a certain point, the narrator introduces each yokai that they end up meeting.
It kind of explains the origin of this creature because these are all creatures.
Japanese folklore.
Which I did enjoy.
Yeah, it's like I love the fact that we end up getting backstory, and at a certain point, like the yokai end up introducing themselves. But in this case, it's just I love. People say that Shinkenger is really Japanese, and don't get me wrong.
It really is.
It really is.
But this one kind of it edged it out a bit.
Yeah, it really edges it out because it gives an in-depth explanation. Shinkenger is much more concentrated on just like the royal.
Shinkenger is trying to mix the Japanese traditional sense of samurai with modern day. Mm-hmm. But this one just kind of sometimes just seems more like a history lesson.
Yeah, it really is. It's like that's actually a very good analysis. It's much more of a history lesson with actual Japanese folklore and like the things
which has its strengths and has its weaknesses. Strengths, it is fascinating to us in our 20s.
Yeah.
But if kids who are 8, they're gonna be like, fight! I don't give a shit. I want to see ninjas. And then we get to Naruto, and that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it's all different, sure. Episode 15 and 16, though, we end up getting introduced to really what is our main evil ninja team up until a certain point with Mega Ranger, with the Ninja Rangers in there. We end up getting introduced to the Flower Konorichi team. I like that. Yeah. We have a legitimate evil team this time, and they're all female.
We haven't had a legitimate evil team since Mega Ranger.
Yeah. God, Q Ranger, please. Please. I want them to come back. I want evil Rangers again. But I like the fact that we end up getting those evil ninjas, that especially this early on. Now, after... We can end up skipping to episode 23. Because, like I said, filler. But in this episode, we end up getting introduced to Tsubasa Maru. And this is where the story sort of takes a turn. There was a character who was very early on, Sandayu, who is basically like their overseer or something. He basically is like, he takes care of them more or less. He's also sort of their trainer. And Sandayu is sort of an asshole. He shows up every once in a while to like, hey, I'm here, I'm just going to make fun of you and leave. And that's what he basically does. We also end up getting Nekomaru, who is like their cat bus. I'm saying this is a serious thing. This existed.
I forgot about the cat bus.
The cat bus.
kind of mentally blocked it. Which, it was sentient in a way.
It was like they drove around in it, but it was also smart and it also reacted to cat things. Like cat spray and things like that, and water. It didn't like it. But back to episode 23, we end up getting introduced to Tsubasa Maru, the white, basically a falcon. It's a mech, and I really like the way that it looked.
Which, by the way, I don't know, we're going to go off on a little tangent here. We watched Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Remember that scene where they look into Android 16's head and you see all the birds? He shows up in that clip.
That's amazing.
You didn't notice
I didn't notice that.
Watch it again, you see him fly and do this thing, and I'm like, no, I did not miss that. And that whole bird. That moment, rewatch it. If you didn't see it either, rewatch it.
But in episode 24, Sandayu ends up dying in this episode.
Awkward.
Yeah, he ends up getting stabbed by Junior. Who is a Gashadokuro. And I like the meaning behind a Gashadokuro is basically people who have starved, like on the road and everything, and their skeletons end up coming together and making this.
Yeah.
And it's pretty terrifying. I love the way they end up doing that, but this is also one of the few times because episode 24, It's All Over, end of Act 1, is the last time that we end up getting to really see the narrator be an actual part of the show. This is when the show decides to start getting serious on itself. Which is fine. I like that. I sort of did miss the narrator, though.
Yeah, I did. Can we talk about the second mech? Have we gotten to it yet?
We're getting the build.
I can never remember when it was introduced.
It's episode 30. Yeah, 30.
Got it.
I do want to mention episode 25 really quickly because they all end up going on their like separate ways because they had to get the Cho ninjas, like ninja scrolls, to be able to summon the higher version of their the next mech. Mm-hmm. In episode 25 is Sasuke's episode, and not to mention Terra Ranger ends up showing up again in this. I will mention in an earlier episode, White from Jetman shows up.
Oh, yeah.
She's a reporter in that episode, along with Burai, a.k.a. Change Pegasus, is in that episode as well. I like the way, because they occasionally will end up bringing back Sentai actors, especially a lot more early on.
Also, did their mechs have a football finisher?
They had a football finisher, and the battle version of the mech did have one as well.
That's a good nod to Go Ranger.
Yeah, that's a nod to Go Ranger. But
Okay.
I will notice this, and especially in the 90s, they have a lot of returning actors coming back a lot more.
Yeah.
Especially compared to now. The last time that really had a returning actor was, I guess it ended up being last year with Ninja, where Sasuke showed up along with Hurricane Red. They all both showed up, of course, in that show, along with. He wasn't Beatbuster. He was his character from Magic Ranger, Yellow.
Oh,
yeah,
I
he
forgot
showed up in that. It was they ended up having a lot more nods in the 90s, and I say that because of the fact that Kazu and his twin from Die Ranger show up in this show as the two dogs. But in episode 25, as I said, Terra Ranger ends up showing up in this one. This is the first time that we've ever only had one Sentai. It's just him. He's the only one who transforms. You don't end up getting to see anybody else. That's really interesting because by this point it's 17, 18 years that the show has been going along, but we never had one episode where it's just been the one Sentai. You would think they could have done it a little bit in Changeman when he had to fight, when Change Dragon had to fight Sadness.
Booba?
Yeah, when he had to fight Booba. But I like the fact that they sort of end up paying attention to that detail in this time. And this is when they start getting their other mechs, where it's really weird, but Red is the only one who ends up getting something very similar to what he had already.
True, but I mean, it was a gorilla, so it...
Yeah. It's basically they just gave him a samurai gorilla, and everybody else ends up getting theirs. Blue and Yellow, Sekai and Saizo end up on... Well, Saizo and Sekai. They end up getting their versions, which are...
A bear and a wolf.
A bear and a wolf. Tsuruhime ends up getting a
crane,
a flying crane.
Which is fine.
And
let's talk about Jiraiya.
Jiraiya gets a 2-episode parter where he has to fight his old master. His old master actually is played by his dad.
Oh, cool. But all to get what?
A
frog. I'm a frog.
It's I really like. I did want to talk about episode 28 and 29 because those are the two Jiraiya focused episodes. But I like the fact that his father is apparently also a stunt actor. He's a martial arts actor. He's been in a couple of other Japanese movies before he moved to America.
Not surprised.
And they end up bringing him in, and he ends up, having this whole thing with his son in this episode, even though he's supposed to be his master. I really like that because I didn't notice that the first time. I'm sitting here it looked pretty similar. Why do they look so alike? And I looked it up, and it's his actual dad.
It wasn't Marcus being racist.
Yeah. I don't do that. But yeah, it was. I really liked the fact they ended up, having his actual dad come in, and they ended up having a whole bunch of pretty well choreographed fight scenes. I get the feeling that they did it themselves. It's just they actually choreographed it. It was pretty great.
No, they just put a camera. They just put the I'm gonna try that again. They just told the camera people to follow what we're doing. We got this. We did this last night. We're just going to do whatever the fuck we want.
Now, in episode... I will bring this back up. In episode 23, the whole plot of the actual rest of the show ends up coming in, where they end up trying to bring up the Daimao, who was the yokai king, basically. It's Junior's dad. And he ends up, there's this whole ritual of him trying to get brought out into the actual world from the yokai version. And that's basically the whole plot for at least the next couple episodes, because in episode 30, we finally end up getting the second mech.
Which I really like this mech.
Kakuranger Daishogun is a pretty great mech.
And I don't mean the version from the 1995 Power Rangers movie. If you want to hear what I think about that,
please go check our review.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's really weird though, because I get the feeling that this show did it a little bit backwards. I get the feeling that the animal mechs and everything should have been first. I don't know. And then it's just they should have moved on to the more humanoid ones later. And gotten Muteki Daishogun, who's he is the house, he is the castle. And this show also ends up taking a really weird turn at this point. Now, in Zero Ranger, I don't like that show, but it has a very good way of setting up the fact that the Zord is basically a god at the very beginning.
Right.
This one, they took a while for the Heavenly Triad to become a thing, where it's Muteki Daishogun, Tsubasa Maru, and Kakure Daishogun. It's just those three, but they took so long to introduce the fact that these three are basically another, godlike version in this show. I just don't understand.
It didn't have the same impact.
Yeah, it took way too long It's like if they would have did that from the very beginning, or at least shown.
Because
Like,
by the time that they tell us that we've already made our decisions on what we think of these, and it just feels like by telling us that you're trying to change our minds one way or the other.
Yeah, it's like I don't really understand what the thought process was behind just waiting so long to have everything done. Now, in episode 31, they end up combining into the winged Kakure Daishogun with Tsubasa. He can also attack to Muteki Daishogun to basically give him a super mode. And on Kakure Daishogun, he can fly, and he has like a drop fist move, which is pretty great. I love the way that his finisher looks, because it's like the punch of the wolf first, and then the wolf's head,
yeah,
and then the punch of the simian fist and the ape's head.
That's fucking terrifying.
It is. It's like, well, that's coming at me. And they end up killing Junior this episode, because Junior, back in episode 23, he basically ends up destroying the battle versions of Muteki Daishoguns like that, them. So we end up going, like I said, this show has a lot of toys, but I get the feeling they needed a replacement. So after the first set, they got rid of the second set, and then brought in that third set.
Yeah.
And so we got a whole bunch of toys. Like I said, 15 Zords plus Tsubasa. And then Daimao ends up coming in. And so does Tsuruhime's father, who's been sort of lost for the past 10 years. And I love Tsuruhime's father, once again played by a returning Sentai actor. It's Vol Eagle 2.
Fantastic.
He did a great job in this show, by the way. I think he was one of the standout actors.
Yeah. That's the thing. A lot of the actors in this show in general did a good job. Yeah.
And like I said, we like the actors, but we have some issues, and we'll get towards that towards the end.
With the characters.
Yeah, because...
Which isn't their fault.
Yeah. He comes back as Hakuminro, and he's like sort of the, I guess like a secondary villain. I'm going to put that in quotations, because the entire time he's basically undercover to sort of really help them and do anything that he can, at least from the side of the yokai. And Tsuruhime, her actress does a very good... She's very young. She's like 15, 16 throughout the run of this show.
Jesus.
And I love the way that her actress does a really good job of just expressing emotion.
Yeah.
Like the way that when she ends up showing, like when her father shows up.
Unlike Miss America.
The first one.
Oh, God.
What emotion? There is no emotion. But
watch our
Battlefield for J review.
Oh my God.
Our very first one. But yeah, she does a very good job as like, she just looks so unbelieving. She really sells it. That she doesn't believe that her father has come back as an evil person in this case. Episode 36, we get introduced to our first extra hero. He's not a sixth, he's an extra. Ninja Man.
Oh God, Ninja Man.
Now, Ninja Man, as we all know, ends up showing up in Gokaiger.
I cannot wait to talk about him in our in comparison video.
Yes, that's good. Oh God, that'll be fun. Woo, that'll
With
be fun.
the power of ninja!
It's so weird. But he ends up coming in. He also has like an alternate form after somebody calls him a novice or a punk or something like that.
And
he gets super angry.
He has a Zord form, let's be real.
Yeah, he ends up turning into Samurai Man.
Sure.
Which, it doesn't look bad.
No, and it's a very simple transformation.
Yeah, it's just... I think I had this toy.
His shoulder pads go up, his...
leg pieces go down.
And his head flips.
Yeah, and he turns into Samurai Man. Now, apparently he was sealed away initially because Daimao ends up tricking him to attack humans.
But let's be frank. Some of the times he fights as Ninja Man are hilarious.
They are.
Because when he just teleports through him and he's like this.
Yeah, it's like the first time he shows up, he just is like a total asshole. It doesn't show up, of course, throughout any of the rest of the show.
No,
because basically a lot of the times that Ninja Man ends up showing up for a good other portion of the show, it's him with children. Yeah, it's a lot of kids in this show. Which wouldn't be bad if they, were useful. They weren't. Not like ever.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But in episodes 42 through 44, it's like a whole 3-part thing where Daimao ends up creating like a whole monster, like a yokai that isn't listed anywhere, so there's nothing about them. He ends up creating this monster, and it ends up basically taking Ninja Man's powers, and it can also take the Kakurangers' powers, and taking 3 of theirs, and it ends up fighting Muteki Daishogun, Tsubasa, and Kakure Daishogun, who are all sentient, by the way. So they can basically just take care of their own for a good bit. They end up going out and they end up fighting the thing and they end up losing. Sasuke ends up going, and the only way that you can beat the monster that Daimao created is to damage Daimao. And they end up doing that.
Yay.
And they end up beating that, and that's like the end of that for a good part. Of course, episode 45, 46, and 47 are all holiday-themed episodes.
Which we're gonna skip the hell out of.
We're never going to end up talking about a holiday episode unless
It's Geki Ranger.
or
I hate Christmas.
shut up. Or we end up getting to something where it's actually useful to the plot, like in Go Busters.
Fair enough.
But in other cases, we're just going to skipping a lot of it because
we hate Christmas.
it's really weird. Like episode 45, especially after episode 44, which is pretty damn good. Episode 45 through like 50 are all filler. And that's not a good thing. That's really bad with pacing.
That's really bad with pacing, especially when you do that and then you have 3 episodes left in your show.
Yeah, it's just like, with a lot of these
Do you
shows...
think they got an extension on episodes because they kept putting in filler?
Maybe. Or maybe they just didn't have anything that preempted it, so they had like a whole thing to go over.
Or they were given 53 episodes and they went, well, shit, we've only written 45 of plot.
Yeah. If that.
We've only written 40 of plot.
Now, we will end up saying, because Daimao apparently has siblings, and they come in, the Kakuranger ends up defeating 2 of them, but at this point, it has been revealed that Hakumenro has sort of betrayed them. I know. And he got turned to stone. And now, there was this kid who said that he was training, and these 2 dogs who are played by Kazu and his brother, Dairanger.
Right.
And they're twins.
Did you say and his brother Dairanger?
Yes, his brother Dairanger. The entire cast of Dairanger, including Master Kaku, who was also this other dog.
Oh, no, I'm sad.
But yeah, this is really weird because we mentioned in Dairangers that the 2 of them were like sort of that. They had that one episode where there was like a copy of them, and it was the actual 2 of them. And in this show, they're both together. They end up playing these dogs. And the next time you end up seeing the 2, they're German Shepherds.
I just said wolf.
Oh. And the next time you see them is in Kabuto, Beef Fighter Kabuto, where they're reversed. So I like they had this off year where they're actually both on the same side of the show together. But they end up dying in the episode where Hakumenro is found out. He's turned to stone. Later on, he's brought back and sort of ends up going out. And this is where the show gets really weird. Because it says that the way that the yokai are powered is through the hatred of humans. And they imply that this is the whole reason why the door in episode 1 opened. And so you're like, no, it's not. They got tricked. Sasuke and Saizo got tricked.
Because they were dumbasses.
And here we are. But they end up trying to switch off the way that the show ends up running is like, no, you legitimately got tricked into opening this door. There's really nothing else that you can say. But they try to say that human hatred ends up bringing him back. So Hakumenro, after he ends up getting turned to stone, ends up going out and like destroying a whole bunch of stuff. And after his other 2 siblings are destroyed, Daimao's sibling ends up coming out and saying like, this is the reason why, like, she is the reason, pointing at Serena, that he is attacking everybody. If you want to blame anybody, blame her for the sins of her father. And so everybody's like, starts having a whole bunch of hatred and sadness and everything. And it goes up to this big cloud, and they end up overpowering.
So it was Kyoryuger before Kyoryuger.
But not nearly as well written. And that's actually saying something. Because in this, it's like, they end up going and they try to have Tsuruhime stab her father with a sword they end up giving her to like give overwhelming sadness because you never want a child to kill their parent or vice versa or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It's like if they end up doing that, they can never be overpowered. The yokai can never be overpowered. And she doesn't end up doing that mostly because of the fact that
this is a
Sasuke is, yeah. And no, well, I mean, still a Sentai, they don't really care all the time. But
I think they care. I think they would care about paternicide.
Yeah. But in this case, they don't end up doing it because Sasuke ends up stopping her. And it's really weird at this stage because of the fact that this show takes such a weird turn. It's like at the very end, there's no big battle with anything. When they end up having to fight his sister, like she ends up constantly coming back even after all the sword finishing moves and everything. And like they end up breaking through all the hatred by seeing life growing or something like that. And I'm seeing her like, well,
or something like that, just some generic plot point.
Yeah, it's not nearly as well written as they thought it might have been. But then they were like, you can't kill the Daimao because if you did, then hatred shards will spread from him out to every human in the world. And I'm just like, okay, so they had to push him back through the door. And they do. And apparently none of the other yokai are actually dead. They're all behind the door as well. And they just can't come back. This show has the weirdest transition between anything I've ever seen. But we'll talk about that more after these character reviews. Sasuke. I liked him.
He was alright.
He was fine. He was much more believed. He was a jokester, more or less. As we remember, it's his fault.
He was that jokester that you knew when the chips were down, he would do the right thing and all that, all that generic shit.
Their field leader.
Yeah, he's their field leader, and he served his role.
Yeah.
I still think White is my favorite.
Speaking of White, Serena. Greatest character development throughout the rest of the show.
Yep.
Great actress.
Good.
Even for so young, and that's actually saying something, because I'm not really sure...
Because she played mature very well.
She did. And I'm not really sure how, versus like King Ranger and O-Ranger, our next Sentai season will be doing. I'm not really familiar with his character as much. But Tsuruhime did such a great job just selling her characters. Like, I believed everything with everything she did. There was no like real falsehood to anything. It's just, she's such a straight-laced, straightforward character. And I think that gives her character a lot more strength in comparison to some of the other ones in this show. Let's combine these next two with Saizo and Sekai.
Because they're the exact same.
They're basically the exact same character, although Saizo's a little bit more cowardly, and Sekai just likes shooting girls.
Why do we always have to have one of those characters?
And in these earlier shows, we do a lot, and I don't like that, and I really wish they would get rid of it. They have sort of gotten rid of the archetype. They did a little bit with Leo in Zyuohger, but they sort of bypassed that pretty quickly.
Yeah, it comes up every now and then,
yeah.
But it's not like his one character trait. They also did it with Kyoryu Black and Kyoryuger.
Yeah.
But a lot better. Because the difference is with Kyoryu Black, I feel like he could actually get the girls he's chasing, as opposed to these idiots.
Yeah. I will have to mention something, though, because there was that one episode where Sekai got, like, possessed by a food-eating monster. And we ended up getting, like, the best thing from this show. As we said, this show at the very beginning was very strange and very wacky. Tsuruhime Burger! You don't remember that episode where she turned into a burger?
I do. Moving on.
It is so weird. Jiraiya.
I liked him.
I liked him. He tried so hard at the very beginning. He's the American one. He doesn't really speak a lot of Japanese throughout the very first episodes of this show, so he was really confused a lot. But I like the fact they gave him a lot to do in this show. He had that whole thing where he was like obsessed with the TV show, and that was the episode where we got, White from Jetman back as a reporter. Great episode. I like a lot of his characters, especially the ones that he has with his former master when he gets his Zord in episode 28 and 29. He had a lot more character development than I expected to have, but I think it's also because of the fact that he got really popular very quickly. Ninja Man. I wish, sort of, that his character got introduced earlier.
Yeah.
Because they didn't really have a lot to do with him near the end of the show.
Yeah.
A lot of his episodes are just focused on kids, and it's just, that's not always a good thing.
No, it's really not.
I missed the announcer. The announcer was great. He was like one of the best parts of the earlier part of the show.
He was also adding to the comedy, which...
Yeah. He always acted in the Rakugo fashion. And he was just hilarious with everything that he did. He gave us, at least at the beginning of the show, all the explanations for all the yokai and who they were. He was a great addition to... I sort of wish they would bring something like that back. But they didn't. I understand why. But he was still a very, very good, just person. And I liked... After Act 1, he didn't really show up as much. But he was still great. I liked everything about him.
Yeah. Overall, it was
It was an okay show. Now, there is one thing I will have to say. Tsuruhime gets shafted.
Yeah,
because, one, she's the only woman on this team, but they make her out to seem like she's so frail. And in the episode where she actually gets her, the actual crane version of her Zord, they say, you're the weakest and you're the frailest, but everybody else is here to help you. And I'm sitting here why is she the weakest one? Well, she's the one who's been training her entire life to become a ninja. In that first episode, she's the one who goes and takes care of everybody. And I just don't understand why they made her as weak as they actually did in this show.
Because she's a woman.
And
It's really stupid.
It really is. And I'm just... She's my favorite character in the show, besides Jiraiya, of course. But it's just like she was so strong in character, and I feel like she had the skills, but that took such a back seat to how they treated her throughout the rest of the show. And that's sort of disappointing. I mean, she was great. She had so much potential, and I feel like they just could have done more with Serena as a person. This show has a lot of ups and downs. I still like the characters. They're all pretty much fun. But this show has a weird thing with its writing where it just took a completely different turn, like halfway through, where they tried to say that it wasn't Saizo and Sasuke's fault that the door was open. It was the fact that hatred was a thing. But I'm just like, no, that's not how this happened. I can understand if you said that it weakened the seal on the door or something like that, but it didn't. They basically just implied that it was just the fact that hatred was a thing with the door open. But I still recommend it.
I would recommend it if you want something if you want to watch a Sentai that doesn't really take itself seriously.
I recommend it, sort of like mid-tier Sentai. It's very good and I really liked it. But it definitely could have had a lot of things done better. Now, next time, we're doing a first.
I remember now.
We're doing Ultraman Nexus. We're finally getting into the 2000s, by the way, in the latter half of the 90s with these shows. Because we're doing Ultraman Nexus, and then, of course, we're doing Shōriki Sentai O-Ranger after that.
You just remembered O-Ranger, didn't you? For those of you who do not know, O-Ranger had a complete change in tone after about episode 6 due to the 1990s terrorist attack in Japan. Another case of fear making television bad.
We'll talk about that more, of course.
In the review. But until then, this has been the Tokucast review. We will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Ninja Vanish!
God damn it, Marcus.